wants to execute, suppose in the campaign level, 50 of my UE should do the data call and 50 of my UE should do only the signaling. So by this grouping method, I think we can do that. Am I right?
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely correct understanding. And we'll be going over all these configurations. So, what you just said, right? I'll go over all these profiles and how to select and how to create those profiles and assign them to those groups in a moment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So that's on a very high level. How the test case looks like and how do you configure the test cases. The important thing is when you're creating the test case, so you are defining those UE groups, but at the same time look at the parameters that in the top section here. The duration is the test case duration. So so when you run this test case, this will only run for 1 minute and it will stop after 1 minute automatically. So you can change this duration to however long you want to run the test case for, right? D500 test group is the D500 test case that you want to run for traffic. So when the UE is attached, the TM500 will look for this particular test case on the D500, and then it will call the application that we've selected for this particular UE group in that test case, in the D500 test case, to run that particular traffic profile. Okay, and if time permits, I'll show you the D500 test case also, and what this test case looks like and how those applications are configured. Obviously, we won't go into too much detail in the D500 because you won't be creating the D500 test cases that often. Once the D500 test case is created, you can use it in any number of test cases. There's not much change required in D500 once that's provisioned.
So, is this
just a quick question. I'm new to TM500, so others may not. But I have heard of this D500 or E500 terms. Are they relevant, or what is that? If you can just give this.
Yeah, sure. So TM500, you all know. TM500 is a UE simulator. The screen that we see right now is for the TM500. That's the UE simulator. TM500, multiple TM500 stacked together in a cabinet. That is also one of our products. It's an extension of TM500. So we kind of combine multiple TM500s, put it in a cabinet. That's a rack of TM500. That is what we call E500. TM500, but multiple of them daisy chained for different purposes,
for higher capacity.
Yeah, for higher capacity, or for carrier aggregation, 4cc 5cc aggregation, for handover scenarios, things like that. But yeah, so daisy chains TM500, multiple TM500s is E500. D500 is the traffic generator. So the traffic generator, or the RDA, real-time data application server, D500, they're all the same. Somebody would call it RDA, somebody would call it D500. It's just that how, what the customers are comfortable with, we just commonly use that term. So RDA, D500, traffic generator, they're all the same. Now the D500 RDA also has different variants. I believe you have a D500. D500 also comes in actually two versions. One is the 450 megabits Mbps version, where you can do a maximum of 450 Mbps traffic on that server. The next one is 900 meg. The maximum downlink and uplink traffic combined will be 900. So that's D500. There's another product, the kind of an upgraded version of it is called D1000, where the total bandwidth increases to 1.8 gig. So from 900 in D500, the D1000 gives you double the bandwidth, so 1.8 gig.
Okay. And this D500, is that a separate box, or is it part of the TM500 chassis?
It's a separate Dell x86 server.
Okay.
1U, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And Karun, regarding this 1500 H core, is that a script or what is that exactly?
Yeah, that's the script name, TM500 H core. That's the script name in the D500, which has all the traffic applications configured.
Okay.
All right, so we are calling that script. So when we run this test case, the TMA will look for this script on the D500, and when the UE is attached, it will basically execute the application that we've defined in this test case itself. I'll show you in a moment where those applications, how those applications are called. But in this traffic mix, so you see here, right, the traffic mix drop down UDP, we are calling UDP here, and the UDP profile that you see here in the background has an application name defined behind it. So when the UEs are attached, uh, the UDP traffic mix will be called, and inside UDP traffic mix we have a certain application name defined. That application name is actually the application name on the D500 under the D500 test. So it will look for that application on the D500 and will just start that application.
Okay, I understood. But the next question is, suppose I am having a basic attach script. So is this the script, or we are running two scripts? So for the attach procedure will be embedded in that script, and the backend, the D500 test group, this TM500 core script will run the applications or configuration, and one more script will run the procedures, like that, or this is the only one script who will execute the procedures along with the applications and configuration.
Yeah, this is the main screen. This is the only screen that you will be dealing with. Everything is controlled by this TMA. We call this TMA GUI. Everything is controlled. Even the D500 test case is running the application is controlled by this TMA GUI. So you won't have to log in into the D500 GUI to start the traffic or do anything at all. So once the test case is defined in that GUI, yes, to create a new test case on the D500 you have to just log in into it once. But now since D5, like this D500 underscore H core is already there, right, we've already created this, and maybe we have 10 other test cases already there, and you just want to use or call one of them, you don't even have to keep it open. You can just keep the GUI closed. The server is running. This TMA GUI will take care of running the the signaling and the data part. So think of it like this: the TMA GUI is doing the control plane, and the D500 is doing the user plane. The TM500 is all
Okay.
signaling, and the D500 is the user plane traffic.
Okay. For
But then,
attach
but then,
procedure and all, we are
yeah,
executing the TM500 core EU in that test. Okay.
yeah, attach procedure will happen on the TM500 because that's signaling. Remember?
No.
So
Signaling, but where is that script? I'm asking. Where is that script?
this is the script. The one that you're seeing right now is the script. This is all graphical. This is all. Oh, I will be going into some configuration details, as I said. So you will see, how the script is configured, but you won't see any commands or parameters. Though no scripting as such. It's all very graphical, very intuitive.
Yeah.
Once this
Yes.
test
Yes.
case is
Yes.
defined and you run the test case, everything that you define here or design here, all this gets converted into commands automatically. So you won't be writing text-based commands in this GUI.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
We'll see. We'll see. Okay.
Yeah. So okay. So that's the D500 in a nutshell. Rest of the parameters you can kind of ignore for now because those are not so important. Don't change those parameters, and you won't have to change them for any purpose. Just leave them as they are for now. Yeah, let's quickly jump to the monitor tab, and I'll go over the configuration also, as I said, but just give me a moment. I want to quickly go over these tabs because these are quick view stuff. So I will let's just finish these tabs and then we'll go into the configurations. The monitor tab basically gives you all the logging filters that we have on the TMA. So you have all the filters. You see the names for all the filters here, and you can those are all collapsed. Those are all condensed right now, but you can always expand them and see what exactly or what those filters have. Um, you know the information that those filters contain. There are two columns here: log and view. Log would mean collecting those logging details into files. for offline or later troubleshooting purposes. View will be real time measurements or real time results. So if you have view selected when the test case is running, you will see that particular window in real time during the run. The log, so and you can have either both log on and view selected, or just one of them depending on what you want to do. Like example, cell watch here is selected for log and view both, but let's see, yeah, system overview is only for view. We don't want to collect the system overview stuff in log file, so we don't check the log. The important ones, I would say, well, all of them are important depending on what test case or what functionality you're running right now and what kind of troubleshooting you want to do. But it's generally a good practice to keep the cell watch open, because this gives you the cell details. As soon as the UE sees the cell watch window immediately starts showing you the cell information, the frequency, the bandwidth, RSRP, so things like that. So you would know if the cell, if the TM500 is seeing what's the power level that the TM500 is seeing. Is it too low? Is it too high? And depending on the power levels, because the attached procedure would be affected by the power level. So you want to keep the power levels optimal. If it's too high, then maybe you need some more attenuation. If it's too low, then maybe you need to increase the power level or a little bit, or remove some attenuation. So yeah, but once the setup is done and nobody is disturbing the setup physically, then the power levels normally won't change. The other important one is the protocol log. So protocol log will show you the layer 3 messages on the right hand side. As soon as the test is started and the UE is attached, this will start showing you all the layer 3 messages right from the MIB message. So MIB, SIBs, and then the entire RRC procedure and NAS procedure will come up in the right hand side, and you can click on any of those messages, and that message gets decoded in the bottom section. So you see the entire message in the bottom section. Maybe we'll show that also. If this system is running, I'll run a test case and show you how that looks. All right. Test fail criteria. There are some criteria here. So for some um, thresholds or test criteria, if you want to define some passes or failures based on some predefined criteria, you can see that here. But I don't think, if you're doing this, let me know. We can always have another session to go over this. But it's basic stuff. Take a look at it. If you feel comfortable, you're just defining a criteria here. RLC errors, what kind of errors you want to induce, and see whether the threshold is met or not. Based on the threshold you're setting, as soon as that threshold is met, the test stops declaring the test or pass. And then leave the advanced tab. These are for some additional setup parameters. All right, so that's the top section. Now let's go and quickly. So the bottom section is the command line, the command window basically. So when you run the test case, this will show you all the commands that are being sent to the TM500 and the response from the TM500. So as I said, the GUI will start converting your design, your definition of the test case into commands automatically. So as soon as you run the test case, you'll see all those commands being sent to the TM500 for that particular configuration, the response from the TM500, and then what the UE is doing. So everything will start appearing here in the command line. And this is also real time, it keeps updating. Okay. Now comes the important stuff, the definition of the test case. So once you have a group defined, all these small tabs that you see here, these are all campaign level parameters. When you click on campaign here, the same button appear here also, just in bigger size. And for quick access, we have these buttons in the test case also. So click on the first one, cells and routes. This is basically where you're defining, configuring the cell parameters on the TM500. Right. So what you're seeing here on the screen right now is the tower is the cell center point, and then we've defined a sector here. right? And the UE is placed right here on this red pin. The red pin means the UE position. We can put another red pin here, and so this will create a different position in that cell, right? So if you noticed, as soon as I put this new red pin, it has, by default, it has a name called new route, and that new route appears here under routes as well, right? So these are the routes or the points where the UEs can be placed. Okay. Okay. Now, and I will be going into a little more detail, but I'm just trying to go slow so that there's no confusion. But I will be going into a little more detail on these routes and how
Please.
these routes are selected.
Sure, Karan.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Yeah. Did you have a question, somebody?
Yeah, Karun, so I just had a question. I mean, having the question like, if we are putting two UEs on a different location, so let's say the new UE which you put on the new route, that is a little bit far from the cell center, right? So when we check the RSRP and all, so will it affect that one, right?
Yes, it will.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
but you have to turn that feature on. I'll show you how to do it. Yes, that's why I placed a second waypoint a little farther away. Uh, I'll show you. So if
So
so yeah,
we
it
will
will
in a
change
group
the.
also, right? I mean, let's say we have multiple UEs, 100 UEs. So and we are using particularly UEs in a group, right? Group one, group two. So we can assign particular the route to that group, and accordingly the RSRP and signer will vary. Correct?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, it will. So the path loss will be calculated, and based on the path loss, this will change the RSRP, RSRQ, SNIR, everything depending on how far that UE point or that UE is from the center of the cell.
Okay. Yeah, that will be fine if you can show us the feature to enable that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have two waypoints here, or two static points. We can also create so let's say I have two static points, and in addition to that, I want to create a route where the UEs are moving. All right. So this is how we define a route where the UEs are kind of moving. So if you see, so it will follow the direction of the arrow. So if I select new route 2 in my UE group, the UEs will start from this point, the point closer to the center, and then they will start moving towards the edge of the cell. How they're going to move, the speed of the UE, how many UEs, those are all defined in different configuration profile. Here, we're only telling or only configuring the route. On this route, number of UEs moving on this route, the speed, the Doppler effect, the fading profile, that's a different configuration window. We'll go over that, but so here we are only defining the cell and how the UE is going to move. All right. So that's the route and how the static points are created. Now clicking on the eNode B parameters here, RC0 is the first radio card. RC0 is our radio card 1. The configuration here, so when I click on RC0, opens up the configuration for that particular radio card. So when you're creating a new test case, you will have to configure the cell ID, the frequency, the downlink frequency, what RAT. So basically all these parameters here, RAT, profile, slot number, and if it's a TDD, cell, then click on advanced so that you can configure the TDD configuration also. Subframe assignment and special subframe. And since it's MIMO, so we've selected number of eNode B transmit antennas is 2 and number of receive antennas is 2. So this is basically 2 by 2. All right. For 4 by 4, we can select 4 and 4 here for both the antennas. This will give you 4 by 4. All right. Any questions here?
So regarding the UE movement, I know the UE are mostly to the cell edge areas and where they will be receiving the optimum RSRP. That means a good signal strength. So other than that, what is the parameter based upon which UE are moving?
Yeah. So which UVs are moving are defined on the group level. So when you create a group, all these routes that we've created here will appear in the drop down list for the route configuration. So you select one of those routes, and depending on the route that you've selected, the UVs will behave accordingly. So if you select static, the UVs will just stay on this static, yeah, on this static point. They won't move. If you select new route, all those UVs in that particular group will stay on this new route static point. They won't move. But if you select new route 2, then all those UVs in that group will start from the positions to the center of the cell to the edge of the cell.
Yeah, but based upon the RSRP, right? What is the signal strength you is getting? Based upon that, you will move. Am I right?
No, the UV don't move based on the signal strength they are receiving.
Then what is
The
the
signal strength will change based on the UV movement. It's the other way around. The UV will just receive whatever signal strength is receiving from the E node B, irrespective of whether they are at the center of the cell or the edge of the cell. Now, at the center, of course, they will, the RSRP will be higher. At the edge, it will be lower. But the movement depends on how you're configuring it here. And when the UVs are moving from the center to the edge, the RSRP will change. So so the RSRP will keep going down as the UVs get to the edge of the cell. So you will see the drop in the power levels.
So it is more of a realistic UE emulation because you are emulating the UE. So
Correct.
that
Yeah,
you
exactly.
able
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see the model that okay, yeah, this UE started from the center and is going to the edge. So you will see for that UE in the logs, you will see the signal strength going down.
absolutely. This is exactly. So you're basically modeling a real UV moving from one point to another point, and you can define that point anywhere. Either edge far to near, near to far, one cell to another cell for handover scenarios. So if you're doing that, let's say you have one cell here, and then I have one more cell. Yeah, and I'm using the same route. We can create a different route also, but it's just just for the sake of this scenario, using the same route. So now when you look at this, the new route, the UVs will start from the point in cell 0, this point here, and then they will start moving to the second cell on that E node B, and move to the end point here. This will give you the handover scenario from one cell to another cell. And the power, obviously the power levels will change. So when the UV is moving out of cell 0, you'll see the power levels dropping for cell 0, and power levels for cell 1 will start increasing as the UV moves to closer to the cell 1. All right. All right. So we've defined the routes here. Now let's see how those routes, how the UVs move, the fading profile, the speed of the UVs. That's the next configuration window. That's the mobility. Yeah, I won't save these. Clicking on mobility configuration. So we have a profile called static point here, a profile called none, and you can have as many profiles here. You can just keep creating your configuration and save it as a profile. And all these profiles that you're creating here will appear in the drop down uh, right here. Now all these drop downs are basically showing all the profiles that you're creating for the route. Since yeah, we didn't save the configuration, otherwise we would see the new route and new route 2 here. Static point mobility is showing none and static point because those are the only two profiles we have. But as soon as you create a new profile for any of these configurations, they automatically appear in um, the drop downs, right? So yeah, so now static point we can create. So if you're let's say if you're doing a handover scenario, or not even a handover scenario, the UV is moving from one point to another. Let's say a near to far, right? So what I'll do is uh, I'll create let's say a near to far mobility scenario, and I'll say speed, let's say, I don't know, 100 millisecond for the sake of this, 100 meters per second. The important thing is the fading profile. As if you want the TM500 to calculate the RSRPs or the path loss, one of the fading profiles have to be turned on. This triggers the automatic calculation of path loss. If this is selected as none, then the UVs are considered to be in good power level position all the time. It doesn't matter where that static point is placed on the GUI. If now these fading profiles are on, the UVs will show you the same power levels irrespective of the waypoint. But as soon as you select or configure one of these fading profiles, this triggers the path loss calculation, and you will see different power levels for the different UV groups on those different waypoints. Downlink slow, uplink slow, downlink plus uplink slow, these are all AWGN scenarios. This is just white noise. Downlink fast, uplink fast, and downlink uplink fast, these are all 3GPP channel model scenarios. All the 3GPP channel model scenarios defined in the standards are already supported on the TM500. So when you select, let's say you select downlink plus uplink fast, you see the channel model drop down here, and you can select any of these channel models, right? But if you select, let's say, downlink plus uplink slow, which is just white noise, then you don't get the channel model because that's just white noise. But you will have to change the IOC here. That's interference. So basically, you're adding interference into the channel. Minus 80 is quite high. Minus 120, minus 130 will be the noise floor. So at minus 130, probably there won't be any noise in the channel. Minus 80 is high. So depending on how much noise you want to put in the channel, you will set some value here, minus 90, minus 100, and you can kind of figure out how much noise you really want in the channel by doing some trial and errors. You configure minus 100 and see if you're getting the optimal results per your test plan, and you can always come back and change these values here. The speed tells the UVs at what speed all those UVs will move from the starting point to the end point. And depending on what's the radius of your cell, the radius of the cell you defined in the previous configuration window, you may want to change the speed here. If the radius itself is only 100 meters, then the UVs will move, and if the speed is 100 meters per second, the UV will move from point A to point B in just 1 second. But if you want the UVs to move slower, then you will obviously you will reduce the speed here or increase the radius of the cell, right? So things like that.
So, these are a little heavy for my simple mind. First, I need to understand a little bit about the physical setup. So, and maybe some fundamental question before, just for my clarity. When you are saying we are emulating the UE, we are emulating it at the RF, the air interface, right? And you will be connecting to a E0B or like some radio outside. So the radio is not in your control, right?
No, so the radio on the RAN, you mean on the E-Node B?
Access side.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not in our control. We are just so the TM500
So
is a phone.
how is the physical connection? First of all, if maybe if you're covering it later, that's fine. But one thing I just want to understand is that is it like just because let's say when we are talking about 1500 UEs, maybe those are we have to connect to like 5 E0B across 5 E0B or something. Uh,
Hmm.
then are those all cabled up? And in that case, your signal, the receive and transmit to the radio side, the access side, that is pretty constant. So your channel emulation and all these variations that you're talking about is being emulated inside your box on the UE front.
Correct. Yeah. So
So
right. So
if you
as
can
you said,
explain
right?
that, you know where the confusion is.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, I should have covered in the beginning itself. I wasn't sure where to start from, so
Right.
I started. I just started from the test case because I thought that's the only thing that you wanted to understand. But
I'm probably the dumbest of all in the
no,
group.
no, that's completely fine. If you're not very familiar with the TM5 or the setup, that's a very good question. That's a very genuine question. So thanks for asking that. Uh, I I can quickly give you a quick overview on how the TM5 is connected to the RAN. As you said, right, the RAN, the access radio is definitely not in our control. The TM500 is the UE. Just like a commercial handset, a phone. That's what TM500 is. It's just that one box is simulating thousands of phones. That's it, right?
Right.
Now, physically, we have a radio card on the TM500. The radio card has, 2 or 4 RF ports, depending on whether they're combined ports, whether you're using combined ports or dedicated ports. Uh,
Uh,
so
so is
combined ports,
it RX and TX or is that for MIMO now?
yeah, correct. So the combined ports are RX-TX combined, RX1 TX1, and the second port will be RX2 TX2, right? Dedicated ports means 4 ports, one for RX1, one for TX1, one for RX2, one for TX2, depending on how the ports are configured or how the ports are physically laid out on the E node B. If the E node B has 4 dedicated ports, then we use dedicated ports on the TM500. It's a one-to-one mapping, right? So
Okay.
if the E node B has combined ports RxTX1, RxTX2, then it's one-to-one. The radio card has combined ports available for RxTXs. But if it's dedicated on the E node B, then we use dedicated here on the TM500. It's just one-to-one mapping.
And and if there are multiple E-Node Bs, then we're just combining all the RF into one and putting it in the RX and TX correspondingly or whatever.
Yeah, there are so yeah. If there are multiple TM500s, then you could connect
Not
in
multiple
2
TM,
different ways.
multiple E-Node B connecting to a single TM.
So yeah, either you can connect multiple E-Node Bs to a single radio card if that's what you want to do, or you have multiple radio cards in the TM500. So one TM500, the new TM500s, the new hardware that we have can hold 4 radio cards in one chassis.
Okay.
So 4 radio cards would mean 4 different cells or 4 different E-node Bs or 4 different sectors. Okay. Now, so that's how. So either you can have 4 different cells, each one radio card connected to one E-node B, the second radio card connected to a different cell, or you could combine like 4 different E-node Bs if the cell ID is the same. If basically the cell configuration is the same, then you could combine all those E-node Bs using a splitter combiner and then feed that signal into just one radio card. So that is also possible, right?
And then the TM500, your box will be able to differentiate between those signals.
So as long as the cell ID is same, it doesn't really matter because we are only looking for the cell.
Mhm.
So it's just going to attach on that particular cell ID.
Okay.
Right. Now, the number of UEs, when the TM500 defines the number of UEs, let's say you're doing 100 UEs, and all those 100 UEs are in the first group itself. So what happens is those UEs are treated individually. They all have their independent stacks running in the background. So every single UE has its own independent RF layer. has its own independent protocol stack. So every UE is, you can treat it as a regular, kind of a commercial UE function.
Okay.
So that's how. So even though you have 100 UEs, the TM500 simulating 100 UEs, you have basically 100 UEs attaching to that particular cell or that particular E node B. And you could split those 100 UEs into different groups and have one group connect to cell 1, second group connect to cell 2 on a different E node B if you have multiple radio cards.
Mhm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. So coming back to this GUI. So yeah, we covered the speed, we covered the fading profiles, the movement of the UEs, and then the last is this drop down. When UEs reach the end of the route, what do you want to do? Whether the UE should stop at the end or retrace path, A to B and B to A, or restart path. So if you select restart path, then A to B, and then it will repeat A to B again. It will just keep doing until the test case is running. All right. All right. So that's mobility. It's traffic mix. Now this is an interesting one. This is where you're basically telling the TMA what kind of traffic do you want to run once the UE is attached. We have UDP, TCP, HTTP, RTP, VoIP, everything supported on the D500. You just create a traffic profile, call the application, and that application gets called into the D500 and it gets executed. So when you look at let's just take a quick look at one of these profiles. Let's say UDP downlink Teraflow. Now Teraflow is our proprietary application to run UDP and TCP traffic. It works exactly like iPerf. We just call it Teraflow. All right. So let's look at downlink Teraflow advanced, and this is where we are defining the APN that comes from the P gateway and the application name. Now this is the application name that I was initially referring to. This is what the D500 has configured inside. So when the UE is attached, the TMA will look for cterra_dl application on the D500 and it will just start that application. And as soon as that application starts, this application will start pumping traffic. Just like when you attach a commercial UE and you start running iPerf from a laptop. It's just pretty much the same. All right. And so again, so you can have multiple profiles here. We have VoIP, UDP, TCP, 3 profiles, and you can add more profiles. You can have one profile which has a mix of all these traffic. You can maybe have UDP and TCP and let's say HTTP and VoLTE traffic in one mix, and you can select that mix for one UE group. So all the UEs will start running all those traffic profiles or traffic configurations. All right. CDN type, IPv4, v6, everything is supported. And then activity profile, I'll very quickly go over this just in case you need it, but we can always come back to this if you have any questions. So activity profile says, attach start delay. How long do you want to wait before the UE attaches? After the attach is done, how long do you want the UEs to stay attached for? Should they detach after some time? And if they are detached, then how long should they stay detached for before they get attached again? This is for detached scenarios. If you're writing a scenario, do you want to detach or not? How long the UE should stay attached for, things like that. So yeah, delay attached 30 seconds. Oh, it says 50 seconds. I don't know. Never mind. All right, the last tab, subscriber profile. This is where you're defining the IMSIs, the IMSI range, start IMSI and end IMSI. So we have from 100 to 159 IMSIs configured here. And obviously these IMSIs need to be configured on the HSS also. So when the UEs are attaching, this will send the authentication procedure. This will complete the authentication procedure. We'll look for the IMSIs in the HSS. The HSS validates those IMSIs and send the authentication success or failure based on these IMSIs and the security parameters. This is where you configure the Millenage key. and then the K key, secret key. All right. So 3 things are important here: IMSI, Melanage, and K key. And that's all the configuration. So once you're done with all this, this is your test case now. There's no command, there's no parameters. All the parameters you've already configured in those separate windows. Now when you
Hey,
run
Karun,
this,
can you go to the sorry to ask this question, Karun? Can you
Yeah.
go to the whatever you showed just before?
The subscriber profile.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So how are you going to specify the range of subscribers here? Or suppose I figure 10 subscribers they are in the script, and I want to specify the range, suppose 1 to 10, the MC range. So can I specify here?
It says start IMSI and end IMSI. So if you see here, the start is 100 and the end is 159. So
Okay.
end doesn't really matter. End is basically telling you how many subscribers you can probably are configured on the HSS. But the start is the more important one. Start is 100. So UE 0 or basically UE. The first UE will get 100, IMSI number 100. The second will get 101, and so on.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
So that's
last
the
question.
configuration. And now when the configuration is done, you run the test case by clicking on this play button. When you click on this play button, it will read all those all the configurations that you've created. Oh yeah, before that, sorry. So all those profiles that we just created in these 5 windows, they all appear here in these drop downs. 1, 2, 3, activity profile and traffic mix. So now you have the profiles configured for this particular UE group. You can select your profile now, number of UEs and whatever you want to do. Let's say you want to do 10 UEs here. You enter 10 here. You want to move the UEs from the route that we selected, although we did not save it, but the new route 2 was moving the UEs. You select that. What mobility profile that we selected, with the fading or just the noise, you select that, and then the traffic mix. So once you've configured all those mixes for this particular UE group, and then you can similarly create another UE group with different selections, and that's it. Save the campaign, your test case is saved, you're done, and then you just run the test case by
How
clicking on
to
this play button.
how to start the script and start and stop is there only?
That's it. Yeah, just click on the play button. Let's click on the play button. I don't know if this is going to run or not, if the node is attached, what state is in the TM500 is in, but let's just hit it. Oh, what happened?
No, this will not run any test case because we don't have entire setup running. So
Okay, so never mind. So you see here, right? Let's clear this and hit play. I'm not even doing anything. I don't know. Maybe the TM500 needs a restart. This is not even doing anything. But
it's fine. It's fine.
yeah, so when you click on the play button, you'll start seeing commands here. So the first few seconds it sets up the TM500. Basically, it's setting up all the parameters or the configuration that you've entered for the UE subscriber profile activity. So it's doing all those the configuration, and then the UE will start looking for the cell. And then as soon as the UE starts searching for the cell, a new pane appears here on the right hand side, which will show you the protocol logs, the layer 3 messages that I was talking about. That will show you the MIB, SIBs, RRC connection request, setup, complete, the entire procedure up to attach complete, or for any procedure that you're running. It will show you all the RRC and NAS messages. You click on one of those messages, and that pane gets divided into a subsection. So the bottom section will show you the decoded message. Just click on it and it'll decode the message for you in the bottom half. So that's the protocol message. And yeah, once the UE is attached, it will start running traffic. And then this square button that you see here, when the test case is running, this gets enabled. This is a red button. This gets enabled, and this is where you stop the test case from.
Okay.
All right. So you just click on it, and the test case will stop. So either you click on this and the test case will stop, or if the duration is completed, the test case will automatically stop.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, Karun, once we basically wrote the test cases, or we completed the test cases here, configuring everything, all the parameters and all. So can we export it to the local directory and then run through command line, right? Is an option running all those test cases through command line? We
You
can
mean
export it.
from the automation?
Yeah, from automation perspective, we have to.
You just click on export and it exports the test case. So give the path, and you'll get two files here. I forgot the file name. One is called test case dot something. Yeah, you get two files, couple of files, and two of those files have all the commands that will be basically run for this particular test case.
So this path is the TMA path. Am I correct, Karan?
Yeah, by default is the TMA path, but you can change it. You can just select your own folder wherever you want to save this test case.
But this exported files will be saved on the TMA machine. Right?
Yes, yeah. By default, yes, but it will be on the TMA PC because you're just saving it on the local PC where the TMA is running.
Okay.
Once the test case is saved, if you want to move it to a different machine, either FTP or just copy paste USB or something, whatever.
So Karan, the question is basically, in order to execute those test case, we need to have TMA software available on the system, right? Then only we can execute those test case through command line.
Is right. The TMS software has to be running. No, on which system? On the system where you're running the script from?
No. Suppose the script, basically when we execute the script, the command which we have to give, the system where the command, on that command line where we are giving the command, so it has some kind of TMS software or some other software is required over there, or?
I think you're kind of alluding to the automation part, right? So if you're doing automation and if you have a different remote PC other than the TMA PC, right? That system doesn't need the TMS software. That system will need your automation framework. So what's happening is, so from your automation framework, automation PC, and that can be any it can be at any location. Either it can be the TMA PC itself or a completely different PC. So what you will do is you'll export the test cases from here, and there are two ways, by the way, of running the test cases in automation, and I'll quickly go over that also in a moment. But so what you will be doing is, from that remote PC, you'll create a telnet connection from your script, the automation script, into the TMA PC. So you specify the port number what the TMA requires and the IP address of the TMA PC. So let's say, for the sake of this, 192.168.10.100 is the IP address of this PC. So 10.100, you make a connection, a telnet connection 10.100 on the specific port that the TMA requires. You have the telnet socket open, and now you're just passing those scripts or commands to the TMA. Now your remote PC doesn't need the TMA software because the script is not running. The TMA script is not directly running on that PC. The TMA script is actually running here. You're just passing or sending those commands from your automation to the TMA PC. Right? So this should have the TMA software running.
Okay.
From automation, once you have the scripts, either you can send the entire script in one go. The command is called script command. You can just pass the text file .txt file as an argument in that command, script command, and it just sends the entire file here. The TMA decodes it and runs all those commands in that script sequentially. Or you can select and send individual commands also, if that's how you're doing your automation. That's a little more tricky because you'll have to write each and every single command in your automation along with all those parameters, all their parameters. So that's for advanced purposes, depending on if you really want to do any advanced automation or advanced scenarios. But for general purpose, I think the script command works absolutely fine. You export the test case. This will create two txt file text files for you, and you just use those text files in the script commands and just send them to the TMA, and TMA will execute that particular test scenario for you. The other way of doing it is, instead of exporting the test case, you can call the XML also. So this particular campaign has an XML name. So run test script is a function. You, instead of calling the script command, you can call the run test script function and just directly call this XML file on this PC, and this will just start executing this entire campaign. So you won't have to export or import anything. You're just calling the XML on this PC directly through run test script.
Okay.
All right.
So, Karun, is there any sample of that done somewhere with this whole automation of XML?
I have the script and run test script examples. I think I shared them earlier, Tom, but yeah, if not, let me know. If Mohit, you don't have maybe the reference scripts or the samples, I'll look for them again and I'll sell them again. But then examples, so the automation documents that I shared earlier, right? The chapter 10, 11, 12 in the use guide, that document explains all these commands, in a lot of detail, and it has examples also in that document itself, how to use those commands. It specifies the usage, the parameters, and gives you examples also for those commands.
Great. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. Yeah.
Sure. The important thing is, so that document is very, very helpful. If you read those chapters, so there's only 3 chapters, 10, 11, 12 on automation.
No.
It explains you how to create the telnet session, and once the telnet session is created, these are the different ways of calling the test case, either through the script command or the run test case command, whether you want to call the txt files or the XML files, and then it gives you examples also, the usage of those commands.
I think Vishal or Vishnath or Dasati, if you have any question regarding log, so are we able to parse the log, even if it's a failure log? Vishal?
You mean to say generating the reports, right? So manually we are able to generate the report, but right now as far as we don't have DU connected, so we are not able to run any scripts. But if I go to any old test case which was successfully passed or executed, and I click on the generate report, it is successfully generating the UE logs. Just we need to confirm how can we copy those logs using the automation commands.
Logs,
the folder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you convert those logs, and you specify the path where those log files are getting saved, right? So the copy will be, so there's no automatic way of copying from the TMA. Copy is just like any other framework. Either you use FTP or open the folder and somehow FTP, telnet, SSH, whatever way you want to do the copy and paste function in your automation.
Yeah. So Vishal, I was looking more towards that. I think we had a discussion that once we run the test case, it generates multiple logs, right? Then which log to refer and all those things. I think that is sorted out, or still there is some confusion there.
No. I don't think there is any confusion, because there is a command, right, to convert the logs, which Karun is only given convert to text command was there, which convert. Yes. So that is converting the logs. Just we need to find out how to just copy with our framework.
Yeah. That is basically independent of this TMA. We can do that if we are okay with the log parsing and all.
Yeah.
So, Karun, one question here. Whenever we are copying the logs or storing the logs, which format we will get the logs?
So when the test case, when the test case is saving the logs, those are all in binary files, dat files. But the command that I shared earlier, convert to text, that command converts those dat files into readable formats. Some of those files will be in .csv format. Some couple of them are in .log, I think, and there's one or two files which are in .txt format. But yeah, all readable. So most of them are .csvs.
So previously we had QPST and QCAT. That option just abolished or it's there still?
So QPST and QCAT are for Qualcomm chipsets. Those are for Qualcomm devices. This is TM500.
No, TM500 we used. Aeroflex TM500 we used QPST and QCAT, both the tools. One is QPST, QCAT is the tool to capture the logs and QPST to analyze the logs. That's why I got confused whether that methodology we are using or directly in this TM500 VIB solution we are capturing the logs and using the command will convert it into the text format and we can analyze this.
Correct. No, so the TM500 is different from Qualcomm test devices. So Qualcomm test devices, the FFAs or the test phones, they have a different logging mechanism. They use QXDM and QPST and QCAT tools for logging and decoding purposes. TM500 doesn't do that. TM500 doesn't use QXDM because those are all Qualcomm tools. We can. So we have different formats for these files.
Last question, Karun. Suppose I have 1500 subscriber in one group, right?
Yeah.
So what is the ramp up time? How can I set the ramp up time? Suppose for second 10 subscriber it will ramp up or 100 subscriber. Is there any configuration like that?
So the ramp up time is very quick. So the UVs start attaching as soon as you hit the play button. The UVs will start attaching with the eNote B, and depending on how fast the eNote B can handle the attach procedure, the UVs will just keep on attaching. You can delay the activity though.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling. Suppose I have a script where I group this all the 1500 subscriber in one group, and if I will start the play button, all my 1500 subscriber will start sending the attach request, right?
Correct.
So it might overload the system if I want to configure it by giving some ramp up time. Suppose 10 subscriber per second, next 10 subscriber next second. So that is it like that or some of the configuration? I think previously we used to do like that. So do you have that type of configuration now?
Yeah.
Or
So
not?
the activity profile. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the activity profile is where you will configure that. So you will create multiple UE groups. Let's say you have 128 UEs, but the eNote B cannot handle 128 UEs for whatever reason, cannot handle 128
Right.
UEs connection request at the same time, and you want to slow
Right.
down the attach procedures, right? So what you'll do is you'll create multiple UE groups of, let's say, 10 or 15 UEs each, and then each of those UE groups will call a different attach activity profile. So you can add delay here. So the delay attach, I don't know, whoever's created this has put 50 seconds here. But so attach start delay will be 50 seconds for this particular profile, 100 seconds for this profile, and then 150 for this profile. So so once you create these profiles, you for each group you select a different attached delay time, and that group will wait for that particular time before it sends the connection.
Yeah, that was my ask. Okay. So in the script itself, we have to configure, right?
Correct. So you have these profiles here, and when you look at the test case under activity profile, you see this drop down, right? So for that particular UE group, you select one of these attach delay configuration, and that group will wait for that particular time before it sends the attach procedure.
Balu, Dashrathi, Vishal, any specific question is?
Karun, hi Karun, Vishwanath here. So I have one question. So is there a way to reboot this TM500 remotely, a soft reboot, and bring it up again? Because sometimes it hangs and some commands doesn't get executed.
If you have an assert, if you see an assert normally, you'll see it in command line in red color. It says assert. If there's an assert, then the TM500 will need a physical manual reboot. So somebody will have to switch off the TM500 power cycle, basically the TM500, switch it off and switch it on. Now, some of these TM500s, all the TMs that I've been working on lately, I've been requesting the Facebook teams to put them on, excuse me, remote power switches, so that the power cycle can be triggered. That can also be triggered remotely. So if this TM500 is, check with somebody from Facebook or whoever you're working from Facebook, whoever is the point of contact. Check with them if this TM500 is also connected to a remote power switch. Get the IP address, and you can use that to power cycle the TM500.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we
so,
were having discussion with Ashwini on this. So, but I think we have to take it further.
Yeah, Mohit.
Just follow up with it. See if it's already connected on a remote power switch. Get the IP address, and you can trigger a power cycle from there.
Yeah.
I have a question. The server, this instance does not have many test cases. Karun, I think I remember we discussed about this. Can we just port some of the test cases, in another instance of TM500 to here, so that we can.
You can, if there's another TM500 which has some relevant test cases that you want. You can request somebody from that team to give you access for that TM500, and you can always port the test case from one TM500 to another TM500. What you will be doing is you will be exporting the campaign basically. So on the campaign, just click on export, and when you click on export, this will basically save the campaign in an XML format. You can specify the location and everything. So just copy that XML into this PC, and then once all those campaigns are on this PC, click on my campaigns and just say import. Where's import? Import campaign. All right. So this will put all the campaigns in this DMA then. It's just export import. Just export it from that PC and import it in this one. Copy paste.
So Karun, one more thing. So how to check how many radio card are there in this TM500? So if there is only one, then we cannot do hands-on scenario and all, right?
If there's only
is my understanding correct?
Yeah, if there's only one radio card, then you cannot do handover scenarios. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll have to check how many excuse me, someone in the lab, if someone in the lab can give me the serial number or a picture of the back of the TM500 that shows the cards, I'll tell you how many radio cards, or just the serial number, and I'll check my database to see how many radio cards are there.
So for the one basically that CI/CD team is using, that has 2 radio cards.
Okay, good. Thanks, Ashwini. So 2 radio cards. So yeah. So with 2 radio cards, you can do handover or carrier aggregation. 4x4 carrier 2cc handover.
Karun, you give us the network architecture of TM500 connections basically, because there are a couple of switches, TM500, TMA, and D500. So if you can provide us the diagram for the connection where we need to connect each other, so that will be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashwini already has it. Ashwini, I shared a connection diagram, or maybe I shared it with the entire team. I'll send it again. Not a problem.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
So Karun, one more favor. Maybe the team can go off and try to do one test script automated through remote and all of that. And then if they could maybe, capture all the questions and issues and all of that, maybe we can have one more half an hour session with you next week, if you don't mind. So
that works. Yeah, I was just about to say, Tom, thanks for, leading into it. Yeah. So you basically got the understanding of the GUI, you had the automation, just do some hands-on, try a few test cases. Let me know if you see any issues, or collect all your questions, and we can have another short session to clarify any doubts if you have any.
Sure. So Mohit, if you don't mind, just put a placeholder for half an hour next week. Maybe that works for Karun. And then, let the team really at least do one end-to-end test, including, import, export, test automation, and remote press, even remote booting, if we can get a remote, off-on switch turned on, and then see if we can meet up next week to have all the questions lined up.
Sure, Tom. So I think hopefully by then we'll have a DU in place, so we can do the end-to-end.
Yes, exactly.
And so progress from our end, Tom, is basically we are able to run or execute the command through our script, and also able to read the logs. So only thing is now we are waiting for is the DU and the configuration in TM500 to be complete.
Excellent. And then the logs can go to wherever. Where are the logs going? Are they going into the CI/CD log manager, or?
Right now it's on TMA only, but that copy logs, we have to copy or move the logs somewhere, either in the database or in some flat storage.
Or this log could have a TM500 test results or something somewhere in there.
So currently, all the logs, Tom, will be stored in our Cassandra database instance and in our one of the pods.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's cool.
All the test case logs.
Yes. I got it. Okay. No, thanks.
And Ashwini, I think for remote switch, I think we need to chase Ala, Ashwini, if I am not wrong. Ala and CP to help us there.
Yeah, I think CP dropped off. I don't know, but
yeah.
It'll be good to get that remote switch. You're right. This way, in the middle of the time here, at least the team can do their own reset. They don't have to wait for the next day. Okay, no, it sounds like a plan. So one other question I think Sanjay Rajiv had related to connecting the wire, to at the CIPRI or eCIPRI level, we can connect to the TM500. Is that how it works? Is it at the CIPRI level that if you do?
To the. Are you talking about 4G ORAN?
No, 4G. I guess 4G. The testbed that we have right now. SIP, I guess forget about eCIPRI. Yeah, CIPRI. Yeah, 4G or CIPRI. I guess how do we that connect? For example, that cable that comes out of the TM500 goes to the RIU of the Altiostar. That's CIPRI level, right?
This will be going to the RF.
If
right?
it's RRU, then it's RF.
To the RU antenna. I don't think they have the RU simulator.
No, I think the RRU that we have, it's CIPRI to eCIPRI conversion. So that cable must be doing something at the, are we simulating at the CIPRI level? That's the question.
So RIU, right? Tom, you're talking about, not RRU, RIU.
I'm talking about the RIU, yeah.
So Tom, I'm not sure what you're asking is at what level we will be connecting. My understanding is it is at RF level. So it will be connecting to the antennas from the MTI radio.
So the TM500 gets connected to the antenna. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
Right, Karan?
That's right. If it's an RU, then and if it has radio heads, then it'll be an RF connection.
It is MTI radio heads.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So we cannot connect at the CIPRI or eCIPRI. There is no interface for that, right?
Not unless I think that is Karan. You guys have some other product. I don't know. That is key. Are you similarity?
On the TM500 itself, we can do CIPRI or eCIPRI as well. So if you're interested in doing CIPRI or eCIPRI for 5G ORAN between the front haul server and the DU server. So Tom, just so you know, we have the front haul server emulation also, basically the RU emulation on the TM500 5G side, not for 4G. 4G is still in discussions. We're still trying to figure out the business case for 4G. We don't have it right now, but for 5G, we have the front haul server which does the RU emulation to connect into a DU, and that's over eCIPRI.
I see. Got it. That makes sense. Okay.
That would be 7.2 or?
Yeah, correct. That's a 7.2x. Yeah, 7.2.
Spirit, yeah. Perfect. Good, good. Thank you so much, Karan, for all of this. I really appreciate it. I think the team has got much better, I guess, idea of what to do next. And then hopefully they'll do their homework. And next week, we can have half an hour more session to make sure they're in good shape.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Karan,
Karan,
for the next session, if it will be possible, we can also go through the D500 Gui, right? It's called TerraVM, right?
Correct. TerraVM.
Yeah. So there are the couple of things, because I worked on that one, but there are couple of things, the parameters where to set which parameters, and couple of IPs are also there, right? So if you can go through that one and just show how to configure those things, then yeah, it will be good.
Yeah, not a problem. Just for the next session, whatever questions or topics you want to cover, just list them in the agenda so we'll know what all needs to be covered. That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll share.
Is it okay to create a Google Doc or something so the team can start putting their questions in there, and and Karun can also be part of that? In the quip, or I'm not sure. Yeah, quip would be good work too, right? We can create a quip with all the TM500 TechM questions, etc. Maybe.
Yeah.
Why
So,
don't
Karan, do I have access to Grip? I think we can.
No, yeah, we can share with external, so we can just share with the quip with him. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's just list down all the questions, areas, and all of that. I think that'll be this way. We are openly sharing our questions and all that, and we don't forget.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Thanks. Ashwani, you think you can do that? Help us to set that up, that quip, or?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great. Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay. And then maybe share with everyone, and then let them characterize their questions, thoughts, and then then this becomes our guideline for future reference and all that. We can also reference all the books and chapters and APIs and all that.
Yes, Tom.
Thanks, Ashwani.
Right.
Thanks, I appreciate it. All right, sounds good, guys. So thanks, Karun. I have to run for this other meeting. Tulsi is gonna actually. Yeah. So, right. Okay, guys. Let me catch up soon. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Karan.